Coming up on this Eastern Conference edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, the regular season is finally here. We have 3 games to break down from last night. The Stanley Cup banner went up into the rafters of T-Mobile Arena, and we've got a whole slate of games tonight. We'll also look at the over-unders for Eastern Conference teams and certain players, thanks to our friends at FanDuel. This is the Locked On NHL podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome inside this October 11th edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. I'm Ross Levitan. You can find me 5 days a week over at Locked On Senators. I'm alongside Mike DiStefano from Locked On Maple Leafs. We've always got the Battle of Ontario brewing every Wednesday on Locked On NHL when we take note of everything going on in the Eastern Conference that got underway last night. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Today is Wednesday, October 11th. And Mikey, how badly did Sidney Crosby want to win that opening faceoff against Connor Bedard?
Very badly. You know he wanted to. And he ripped that thing pretty hard in the back. I like that. It was cool though, right? Like you had the ref out there and he was just like, all right, boys, Kelly Sutherland, Sid, welcome back for another year. By the way, 19 years that Sidney Crosby's been in the NHL. Man, do I feel old. And then just welcoming Connor Bedard to the show. And I thought that was a cool, touching little moment there. So I liked, you know, people used to clown when that happened at like these international events in the World Juniors. But I like when it happens to start the season in the NHL. It's a nice little moment, especially for Bedard.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I mean, great game for Connor Bedard. Let's be honest here, right? This was a moment where it wasn't too big for him. 5 shots on goal, had some of the best possession numbers on the team, gets that beautiful zone entry that created the assist. Just a magnificent debut. It's not quite 4 goals, Mikey, but at least he got the win.
I was very close to tweeting that out last night. I was going to say, wow, what a 4-goal performance by Connor Bedard. Oh, wait, that didn't happen. But regardless, you do understand how special this kid is going to be, though, right? Like the way that guy just like attacks the net, the way that he's able to get his shot off from anywhere, around the rink. It's impressive stuff. He didn't have one fall for him last night, but I'm sure he's going to have a bunch fall throughout the season. So I was excited to watch that game and to watch the Chicago Blackhawks for the second time in just a few months going to Pittsburgh and lay a beatdown on the Penguins. They rallied back 4 straight unanswered goals against Pittsburgh. And keep in mind, it was the Chicago Blackhawks victory against the Pittsburgh Penguins last year that kept them out of the playoffs and allowed the Panthers to get in. And they pick up right where they left off with another win as well. Thought it was very comical.
We should probably get to the score of that game. The Chicago Blackhawks earning a 4-2 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's start with that one. I thought that was the most entertaining game. You could argue the third period was pretty good in the Lightning win over the Nashville Predators. 5-3 was the score there with an empty netter that I know some wagerers out there, and we'll get to that. I had some friends be like, hey, why did the clock stop at 1.5 seconds while Kucherov was coming in? Did you notice that?
It did seem like it slowed down a little bit. It did seem like it because I'm thinking to myself, is he going to shoot it? Is there enough time? And then eventually I'm looking up and it looked like maybe the clock had stopped, but I don't know. That's very conspiracy theory. I think maybe it just a glitch in the system as opposed to the clock in the arena actually stopping. I'm not gonna read into that being, Vegas at work.
I got a bigger problem with people betting the reverse puck line like that. Like if you're betting plus 1.5, I don't know. I'd rather cheer for the puck line to go. So I'm all good with Kucherov putting that in to make it a 2-goal game. But no, let's stick with Sidney Crosby and the Penguins because Crosby did get on the board, Heck, the Penguins were up 2-0 midway through this game.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here come the Chicago Blackhawks, and we do have to give some stick taps to a guy you got to see a quick cup of coffee with in Toronto. Peter Mrazek was phenomenal in this game, 38 saves.
Well, I mean, with Kyle Dubas in the building, a little up yours to the man who traded him away from Toronto. Sure, he gave him that contract that he's currently sitting on, making a healthy 3.8 million, I think, but did trade him away from Toronto and said, you're no longer part of the solution here. Sent him to Chicago, and he fires back with a win against Pittsburgh last year, and then in Kyle Dubas's home debut, another big bad start for Mr. Peter Mrazek. You do love to see it. You really, really do.
I like Kyle Davidson ever since that interview on the streets in Nashville.
Oh, yeah, the draft.
Yeah, man on the street. They didn't know who he was. Hey, do you think this is rigged? No. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on him ever since. And you look at the new additions for Chicago: Nick Foligno goal and an assist, Corey Perry assists in the game. I thought Taylor Hall was a perfect complementary piece on that top line with Connor Bedard. And then on the back end, the much mal-aligned Seth Jones had a heck of a game, 25-30 in ice time, had an assist, was +3 in a 4-2 win. Like,
I liked that Kevin Korchinski kid too. Out of the dub. I coached him in that top prospects tournament, so it's great to see him making the NHL. I'd like to think I taught him a thing or two for a reason why he got there.
When he wins the Norris, he'll thank you.
He should definitely. I should be at least a footnote in the speech, I would think. But no, it's good to see him out there and playing well. Like, I thought that he was all over the place last night. His name was brought up a whole bunch. You heard it on broadcast. So Kevin Korchinski had himself a good debut as well for the Blackhawks. So it wasn't only Bedard who got to go and skate out there and do the rookie lap. Korchinski was also right behind him doing it as well. And both those guys had themselves heck of a debut for the Blackhawks.
Are we ready for some serious overreactions? Like, are the Chicago Blackhawks going to be a decent team this year? Are the Penguins really too old and too slow? Like, what kind of overreaction do you want to take out of this game?
I think it's probably the latter. I'm not sold on the Chicago Blackhawks quite yet. Sure,
Central's wide open after Dallas and Colorado.
Yeah, but come on.
It's wide open.
You've got Bedard, but look, there's not a whole lot else there. I mean,
counterpoint.
I was shocked. Like, I looked at that lineup last night, the opening night roster, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no chance that they're going to be able to beat the Penguins. Now they did. They shut me up, obviously. But this isn't a team that's going to go out and win enough games in an 82-game regular season to compete for the postseason. I just don't see it happening, Ross. It's a nice story. They come out, they win in Bedard's, season opener. Hopefully they can win a home opener as well. Sneak some wins here and there off some good teams, make it a good story. But ultimately, I don't view the Chicago Blackhawks as a playoff team. They're still a year or two out.
Okay. Counterpoint. They have Connor Bedard.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Crosby, they didn't make the playoffs in Crosby's rookie year. It took till year 2 for the Penguins to make the playoffs. But will Crosby make the playoffs in year 19? That is a bigger question mark, I think, after seeing that team last night. And they didn't look great. I will say that. They did not look great, especially later in that game.
Yeah, Erik Karlsson in particular, I was expecting a little more from. You're used to that razzle-dazzle, and it just feels like he's got to be the guy. Like, we saw that in San Jose. We talked about it in the summer when the trade went down to Pittsburgh. Like, he played his best hockey in San Jose when he was the undisputed number 1 defenseman.
He played, over 26 minutes last night. How much more ice time do you need to get something done?
I don't know what it is, man. I like seeing him out there ripping, but I don't know. I mean, Letang was playing in a minute and a half less? Lots of time left, though.
Still early. We're game 1 of 82, pal. There's still time for that guy to pick it up.
Yeah, there really is. Well, let's talk next about I know this is the Eastern Conference edition, but all roads lead to the Stanley Cup. I want to get Mike's take on the way the Vegas Golden Knights unveiled their Stanley Cup banner, and then we'll turn our attention back to the Eastern Conference. We'll get a quick wrap-up on the Tampa Bay Lightning, starting out with a win with Jonas Johansson in net, who, by the way, Mikey, just a quick aside, he kind of looks like Vasilevsky in the net. Like their stances are very similar, and he's a big goalie. He bends over a little bit. If you didn't know any better and you didn't look at the stats, you might think like, hey, is that the big cat in net? Not quite, but he got the win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then we're going to wrap up today's show with some over-unders, thanks to our friends over at FanDuel. That's all next. You're listening to the Locked On NHL podcast.
Today's show is brought to you by Sleeper. The NHL season is finally here. I absolutely love the NHL, and I know that you do too. That's why I want to tell you about the Sleeper app. The Sleeper app is the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. And it's my go-to for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. Right now, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms and use for details.
Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. You ever have a moment where you're not just feeling yourself? You feel like your own brain's getting in the way? Like you know what you should do, what's good for you, but you just can't do it? Therapy helps figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself. I've benefited from therapy, and you can too. And if you're thinking of starting, I would recommend giving BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional cost, because we know that it's important to connect with the person you're opening up to. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. And because you're a listener of Locked On NHL, you can go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNHL today to get 10% off your first month. It's worth a try. What can you lose? Nothing. It's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNHL. Go give BetterHelp a try. Welcome back, Locked On NHL. It's the Eastern Conference edition every Wednesday here on Locked On NHL. We have at the Locked On NHL Network local experts on the biggest stories in every single market. One of my favorite things to do whenever the Senators are about to play a team, I go search up that team's Locked On NHL channel because I want the view from the other side. So keep that in mind whenever you're playing. So tonight, I'll be listening to Locked On Hurricanes. We got Sens Hurricanes from the PNC Arena down in Raleigh. I know that Mike DiStefano always loves a good battle between the Leafs and Habs. How you feeling? Because the Leafs haven't had a whole lot of success against the Habs in the regular season or playoffs.
Well, so the interesting is they haven't had a whole lot of success in Montreal, but they've had loads of success in Toronto. They've won 4 straight, actually, on home ice. Montreal has only scored 5 goals at Scotiabank Arena over the course of those 4 games. So Toronto's fared pretty well against Montreal when they're in their own building. When they head to La Belle Province, not the best, as my Frenchman Louis Domingue would say. But hey, it's in Scotiabank tonight, so I think the crowd will be loud and cheering. There's a lot to cheer for. It seems like the Maple Leafs are off to a good, a good start in terms of, they've got new players. There's a new management. It just seems like there's less anxiousness. Maybe it's because they finally got over the hurdle of winning that round last year. Feels like this year, it just there's hope, maybe new hope, inspired hope with all the changes that were made this offseason. So excited to see what comes of the game tonight.
We always love our friends at FanDuel. So since we're on this game, I just went over to FanDuel's website and I looked up, and there's a popular same game parlay going on right now. I kind of like it. It's kind of crazy. It's a plus 1,320, but the Leafs to win on the money line, Cole Caulfield and Austin Matthews to score, a goal in the first 10 minutes, Leafs winning in regulation, and over 5.5 goals. Would you nibble with that?
I might take a nibble at that. The only thing that worries me is I know that it's like opening night to the Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot of people assuming that we could have a lot of goals tonight. But like I just mentioned, 4 straight trips where the Montreal Canadiens have failed to score more than 2 goals. So how many goals are we going to see? I'm not sure. 5.5 is a pretty solid alternate total. I think at 6.5, I probably lean under. I think 6 goals is doable, I suppose. Instead of Cole Caulfield, though, Josh Anderson has been a noted Leaf killer his entire career. That would be another guy who I would kind of look at as an anytime goal scorer. That's pretty solid. Plus 1,300 odds. Not bad. Not bad.
The stress of betting the first period goal in the first 10 minutes is wild. The puck drops. You're like, shoot.
So I hit it yesterday. I bet the first 2 games. Well, all 3 of them hit actually, goal in first 10 minutes. But I bet as a parlay the first 2 games. The Tampa one hit
it was like 950.
Yeah, literally just in the nick of time. I was super stoked about it. They hit legitimately in like the dying seconds of the first 10 minutes. And then same thing. I think it was Chicago finished their power play. They didn't score. And then Pittsburgh came down the ice and ended up scoring. And even that one, they weren't sure if it was a goal. And then obviously upon review, it certainly went into the back of the net. And that was also with like a minute or so to spare. So a good start to my wagering for sure, especially when it came to a goal in the first 10 minutes. Had a nice little double parlay there.
Yeah. I love this time of year, man. And I actually did. I know I said that it was definitely the most hyped game was the Bedard versus Crosby, all that.
Yeah.
But like the hockey in the Nashville-Tampa game was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And, I always like to see Nick Paul do well. 2 goals and an assist for Nick Paul. Does it all. Braden Point has 3 assists.
How did you feel about that comment from John Buccigross where he said, I still can't believe that Ottawa let this guy go?
If you could transplant Nick Paul to Ottawa on that contract, I'd probably take a pass. 7 years, I feel like, is a little long. I never liked when he played in the top 6 in Ottawa. He never played with Braden Point, though. I'll tell you that for free. So It's kind of they could use him tonight with no Josh Norris, no Shane Pinto. They could use Nick Paul at center right now, but the 7-year term I think scared me away. I was the biggest fan of the trade right away. Mathieu Joseph had 12 points in his first 11 games with Ottawa. I was like, this is unbelievable. And then he had 3 goals last year. Nick Paul had 2 last night.
And now he's a reason why the Sens can't get Shane Pinto signed.
But I will say this, Mikey, and I'm glad it's you I get to tell this to. I am on record as saying that if you had promised me Nick Paul would score 2 goals in Game 7 to eliminate the Leafs in the playoffs, I would have given him away for free.
Well, I hate you. So there's that. We can move on from the Nick Paul conversation
You brought up Nick Paul.
No, I didn't. You did.
No, but you brought up that it hurts me. Sure. I said I like to see a man do well. Then you asked if, they did bring that up on the ESPN broadcast. So I tweeted it out, and my good friend Mark Mathot replied. He said, the Sens traded Nick Paul just to immediately start looking for another one.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much they did.
And type of player you need in the lineup. But, Tampa certainly looked the part of a team that doesn't look like they're going to go away or, cower in the absence of their superstar goalie. I thought they held on to it pretty well. I mean, they didn't give up a shot in the first 15 minutes of the game. It was 9-1, 9-2. And then give Nashville credit, though. They've got some gamers. Nashville's another one of those teams in the Central. I don't think that these are all going to be playoff teams, but I think that the shuffling of how they finish between Chicago, Nashville, even Minnesota, Winnipeg, you can put in that mix. And I'm a fan of Arizona taking a step forward this year. So I think that the Central, I have no idea what to expect, by the way, from St. Louis. But the Central is going to be crazy, and I think that Nashville showed they can play, man. They made it a game in the third. They tied it up, and then obviously that late goal by Nick Paul was kind of the killer on the power play there. They took too many penalties too in the third period.
Yeah, lots of penalties, and that's never a recipe for success. But I'm not as high on Nashville maybe as you are. I think that last night was just to be honest, they didn't look like a very good hockey team for the first 30, 35 minutes of that game, and then kind of started to get it going a little bit in the second. And then obviously we had the goal outburst in the third period. I wonder how many of those goals would not have found the back of the net if it was Vasilevsky instead of Johansson. But, I think that to go back to the Tampa Bay Lightning, what type of season can they still have in the wake of this Vasilevsky injury? Well, if you've got the offense producing at the rate that they did last night, I think they'll be able to win a lot of track meets in the absence of Vasilevsky. And that was kind of always, one thing that that we always thought might be able to happen. So I still believe that this Tampa Bay Lightning team is going to be in the mix all season long, even with this injury to Vasi.
They've got 3 straight divisional games coming up, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't want to say they're, must win this early in the season, but pretty big games. At Detroit, at Ottawa on a back-to-back, at Buffalo before going back home. So
yeah, and those are teams that are going to be, fighting for playoff spots this year. Certainly Buffalo and Ottawa. Detroit, and they might be a year away from competing, but certainly, that those are going to be important games down the road.
And then they come home and they play Vancouver, Toronto the next. So that's 4 division opponents in the first 6 games for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they've got a big homestand after that. They can make some hay on as well. That's a tough place to play down in Tampa. So lots to keep track of with Tampa this year. They're one of my teams that's piquing my curiosity. And I'm really excited to watch the Atlantic Division kind of unfold. Now, Tampa's got a couple cup banners up in the rafters recently, but Vegas just put up theirs. What does Mikey think about that? And we'll get to our FanDuel over-unders for the Eastern Conference. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On NHL. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Jase Medical. Jase Medical. Get the Jase case, would you? The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is to fill out a simple online form and, in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our board-certified physicians. Get ongoing care from physicians on any treatment-related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Don't be caught unprepared. Everybody should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jase handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medical deliveries and ongoing consultation and care. So get the Jase case and get 20% off on these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Get the Jase case today. Welcome back, Locked On NHL. A reminder, we have 35 Locked On NHL shows all ready to entertain, give you insight, expert analysis, and fun interviews as well. On Locked On Senators last week, we had Keith Tkachuk, legend of the game. Mike, I got some trivia for you. I found out while I was researching the Keith Tkachuk storyline. And one of them, there's a pretty solid connection. They all work in hockey. So I guess I can even give away one. One of them is Keith Tkachuk. Who are the 3 players in NHL history to score more than 500 goals and have more than 2,000 penalty minutes?
Oh, geez. 500 goals and 2,000 penalty minutes. I mean, not a lot of guys scored 500 goals in their career. So, I mean, it's a small list to choose from. Who racked up a whole bunch of penalty minutes, though?
Yeah, one of them, it's an egregious amount of penalty minutes. And I'll tell you that one of them is a general manager in the league, and one of them is the boss of a general manager in the league.
Doesn't help me.
No?
I mean, it does because I can narrow it down to
a pretty obvious guess or hint.
I think I've gone very baby monkey on me. I mean,
you should get one.
I should get one?
As a Leafs guy, you should get one.
I mean, Shanny?
Yes.
Okay. Shanny's one.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an obvious one, actually. Brendan Shanahan.
The other one is less obvious, but he's a general manager in the National Hockey League, and he just made a pair of signings.
Just made a pair of signings, like out in Winnipeg?
Nope.
No.
That's I didn't realize that.
I'm like,
they weren't identical. Chevy did play though. That was shocking to me.
But he definitely didn't rip 500 talks in his career here.
No.
For the sake of everyone listening who's shouting out the answer, who's the other guy?
Pat Verbeek.
I never would have guessed Pat Verbeek scored 500 goals in the NHL.
Pat Verbeek scored like 510 goals, but even more like impressive, I guess, than that. He scored 522 goals. He had 2,900 penalty minutes. He had the most penalty minutes of any of those three guys.
That's legitimately unbelievable. Like, I don't believe you. But
So there you go. There's some water cooler banter for you. I mean, he played a ton of games. He played 1,424 games.
still, 500 goals, man. That's a lot of goals. A lot of goals. How many
And
guys scored 500?
And he never scored 50.
It's just consistency, man. Consistency.
46, 44, 43, 41, 39, 37, 35, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the little ball of hate got that nickname, and he's up there. It's Keith Tkachuk, Brendan Shanahan, and Pat Verbeek, players with 500 goals, 2,000 penalty minutes. Maybe we'll get a little trivia going more often on the show. I like that. But I also like the slot machine, Mike. Yeah, call me corny. I liked it. What'd you think of Vegas doing if you missed it, Mark Stone went up and they had the banner inside of an enormous slot machine with 3 Vegas logos. He pulls the slots. There's the 7s on there, but then 3 Stanley Cups go right across the slot machine, and away she goes.
I thought it was awesome. It's just very Vegas, right? Like everything they've done since they've come into the league has been very extra, but that's what you expect to see from Vegas. It's a show, and that's exactly what they gave us last night. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, seeing the Stanley Cups, on the slot machine go bing, 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 and then having it come out. I thought that the theater was terrific, and then they had a good game afterwards as well, and proved why they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. End up with a 4-1 win over the Seattle Kraken, and it was a very Vegas-esque game as well. But I thought that was a perfect way for them to do that whole banner raising celebration. It was very Vegas-esque.
The Stanley Cup champs don't lose in the opening game.
Is this a factoid?
No, I'm actually looking it up right now, and they're 3-1 in their last 4. The only loss, Tampa lost to Pittsburgh 6-2 in 2021. But other than that, and Chicago's taken the L in 2 of them. They lost to Colorado last year, and they lost to Tampa the first year they won. But that was easy money to bet the puck line on Vegas. On Vegas home. Come on. I didn't care if who they were playing. They were winning that game.
Puck line with a little Marcia, so anytime goal sprinkle. Those were guaranteed plays last night.
Easily. Great game, man. I love watching games in Vegas, and the players talk about how exciting an atmosphere it is to play in, but you can actually feel it on TV.
It was bizarre to me just how that organization has only been around for 5 years and they already have a Stanley Cup. It's insane. When you actually sit down and think about it and look at it, how quickly they were able to build a juggernaut franchise and actually win a Stanley Cup. It's wild.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if there's a superstar on the market, they were going to get him. They've traded for how many captains? They got Eichel, Stone, Pacioretty, who they flipped. If
Pietrangelo.
If your team's captain is on the market, Vegas is coming calling.
Yeah.
Amazing. It really is amazing. Yeah, you're right. Pietrangelo as well. So that's just the Vegas way, and they can retain talent. And then when they're done with you, they send you off wherever you need to go. But Vegas is out west. I just want to get that Stanley Cup banner talk in there. Getting back to the Eastern Conference and FanDuel. Do you want to do individual players? We've got a few minutes left here to do either individual players, or we can look at some NHL futures for team success.
Let's do players. We've kind of focused on teams, and we've talked about each team already as our breakdown the last few weeks. Let's focus on some individual players.
All right, so we'll go down here. Austin Matthews, the over-under set at 50.5. You like the over or the under?
I do like the over. I think, last year was a bit of a down year for his standards, notching just 40 goals, but I think that he gets back into the 50-goal column this year. I think that Austin Matthews will clear that mark pretty handily, and as you can see, it's kind of juiced to the over, so a lot of people think that's going to be the case as well.
I think I take Pasternak before I take Matthews, though. Pasternak at 47.5 goals. This guy scored 60 last year.
Yeah, I think they both clear 50.
Yeah.
It's a different NHL, man. Goal scoring is up now. They're scoring way more than they did in the past. So 50 is the new 40 almost, and I think that we'll see a bunch of guys clear that 50 goal mark again this season. At least 5, maybe 6 dudes could potentially do it if everyone stays healthy. Maybe as high as 7. I could see Kirill the Thrill getting 50 goals this season potentially. Tage Thompson get there. Like, there's a lot of guys who I think could clear that 50 goal mark. So, yeah, I think Austin Matthews surely is probably set to get back into that upper echelon this season.
The Hart Trophy, I want a sleeper pick from you, but I also have to point out here, why and how does Trevor Zegras have better odds to win the Hart Trophy than Mitch Marner, Quinn Hughes, Tim Stützle, Alex Ovechkin, Alex Barkov? Like, what?
I don't understand the infatuation that some people have with Trevor Zegras. I really, really don't. That is a wager I will not be making.
He's gonna have 80 points and be minus 30 this year.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks.
He's better than Jack Eichel. What?
It really doesn't make a lot of sense. It really does not. A sleeper pick. What are we considering a sleeper? Do we need a specific odds here?
Value. Because to me, I'm looking at Jack Hughes, man. Plus 700.
Yeah. That was the one I was looking at too. Jack Hughes has an opportunity, especially if the Devils do take that step and become like President's Trophy winning team, and Jack Hughes, rattles off, over 100 points and, closes in on 45 or so goals. I think for sure Jack Hughes, that's pretty good value at 17-1.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, let's get one more in here. So we got, you want to do Norris or Vezina?
I think Vezina's probably more interesting because Vasilevsky's out of the picture, and that kind of opens it up for a couple other players here. I'm not sure why Connor Hellebuck is the top dog here, though, to be quite honest with you. I know there's like 4 guys.
4-way tie.
But, like, I don't know. Like, for me, Shesterkin and Sorokin should be much further ahead than those 2 guys. I'm going to give it to Shesterkin. I think this is the year Shesterkin gets it done.
Yeah, he's so good, man.
Good value play, though. Good value play. Like, Ullmark at plus 1,700. Look what they did last year. If Boston doesn't fall off like some are expecting this year, it's going to be because defense and goaltending. So Linus Ullmark, if Boston does well, it's going to be on the back of him. So he'll probably get some love for that too. So at 1,700, if you have faith in the Boston Bruins, which to be fair, I do not. But if you did, that's a decent value play as well.
Yeah, my value play would be Georgiev plus 2,500 in Colorado. He's going to get wins, and he had a sneaky, unreal save percentage last year.
Yeah, he's a decent play as well. What about bounce back candidate? What about Jacob Markstrom? You think he could get back into this race?
Yeah, I think so. And I also want to ask you about Akira Schmid. Where's Vitek Vanacek? All the way down here.
I think the assumption is Akira Schmid's going to take over as the guy.
Jeez, I would throw a flyer on Vitek Vanacek at plus 15,000.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Like, what?
Just because, put something on him.
Yeah, I would. You can go find out all these odds over.
Can you pull that back up? I just saw something so egregious just now. Okay, maybe we don't have to pull it up, but okay. Just look at that page. Look at Vitek Vanacek and look at the goalies above him and tell me the most egregious one.
Matt Murray.
The guy's not going to play this year, and he's got higher odds than Vitek Vanacek, someone who might be the starting goaltender for a President's Trophy winning team.
Yeah.
That's just outrageous. Please, people, take advantage of this insane value that FanDuel's offering. If you're going to place a wager, you got to throw a couple of bucks at this one, and maybe something happens. Plus, hey, those European goaltenders, they're pretty good these days, aren't they?
Yeah, Canada needs Devin Levi to be the guy going forward because Canada's in struggle to get elite goaltending. That's a whole other conversation. We'll save it for next week. This has been a lot of fun because we got real live hockey back, and we'll be back next week to break it down. We've also got Power Rankings Thursday coming up on Locked On NHL, so stay tuned for that. For Mike DiStefano, I'm Ross Levitan. Go check us out, Locked On Maple Leafs, Locked On Senators. This has been the Locked On NHL podcast, your team every day.